we say, the minimum of 6 months. But most of those are actually 10 months to a year, just because we're producing that much and trying to turn over that much at the same time. It's really kind of a perpetual cycle. But no, we have a lot of meads that are much, much older. We have a perpetually aging mead that right now is 6 years old. It turned 6 in August. And we have a pumpkin mead that's about 5.5 years old. We have, right now we just put out a vanilla cinnamon sizer Bochet that's from 2014. We have bourbon barrel aged, we have rum barrel aged. We have, we really love aging. And let me use this moment to congratulate you on being a grandparent. I'm actually becoming a father in April.
Oh, cool. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Your heart will burst.
Yeah, we have,
your heart will burst. You don't know what love is till you have a child, and it's like, oh, my God. Best thing ever.
I'm super excited. It's a boy, and so the legacy lives on.
Yay.
And the thing I'm going to be doing is brewing a batch. I say brewing, but we don't boil anything. But we're making a batch for him that will age 21 years.
Oh, nice. So this will be his coming-of-age mead. That's awesome.
That's right.
That is really cool. Yeah, I've made, when my daughter turned 18, I made a batch of mead, and then, of course, we had to have all the kids over there heavily supervised, because technically that's not legal. But home mead, who cares? And my daughter's been drinking mead since she was 10, because she would help sample, and children's palates are so fresh and so they work, which is more than you could say for older people whose palates have become jaded, But so she was my chief taster for the longest time. No, Mom, this has got something going on in there, and I don't know what it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, well, and you've seen the pictures of John Talkington, who is utterly Twitter-pated by his little daughter, who is just the cutest little thing ever, and she's with him everywhere. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen. They start toddling, and they'll be everywhere.
Well, we're excited. We're super excited. And
that's great.
Couldn't be happier.
Oh, yeah, congratulations, man. That's just awesome.
Thank you.
So, I don't know I guess Manny's back. All right, Manny, he was talking about yeast. That's your cue.
Oh, yes.
If you listen to the show, Ash, you know what's coming.
One day somebody's going to say, yes, as a matter of fact, I do that. And the question always is, have you ever tried blending yeasts, 2 different yeasts in one batch to get a different result, maybe characteristics from both?
Yeah.
He said,
he said
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. Yes. Another fun thing to do is not only fermenting the 2 yeasts together, but fermenting the same must with 3 or 4 different yeasts that produce different flavors, and blending them into what could be the perfect mead.
Oh,
that's a lot of people do that with cider. There's a few cider companies out there that will take a blend of apples, use 3 or 4 different yeasts, and they actually blend in percentages all of these to make the perfect cider. And we've definitely played around with that, because the big secret in any fermentation product, whether it's spirit, whether it's beer, whether it's wine, is yeast. It's one of the, if you go to Louisville, Kentucky, and take a tour of the distilleries, ask any one of them about yeast, you will not get an answer. Yes, we use it. Will probably be the only answer. And that's like the coveted thing to know. And the same goes for breweries. I mean, there's a multi-million-dollar business in being a yeast bank, storing certain yeast, in particular yeast, for breweries. And the same goes for mead and wine as well. Those are the cards that are being held close to the vest. Technique is easy. Yeast is the science that envelopes everything.
Aha.
But
finally,
to answer your question, yes. A blend. So
he doesn't know what to do now, Ash.
I don't know. I'm speechless.
You've made his year.
Yeah.
I also own a brew pub called Hobbs Tavern Brewing Company, and one of our house beers is a cream ale, and a traditional pre-prohibition cream ale was made with both lager and ale yeast. One top fermenting, one bottom fermenting. And of course, the cream part of it comes from actually the corn side more than it does from actually any sort of lactose.
You use corn as an adjunct in it, or did you say corn?
Yeah, a typical cream ale is from corn.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, so a lot of people do that type of blending, for sure.
That's cool, because I would always hear that that one yeast will dominate the other, and that the only you'd only get the character of the one yeast that lived, but I don't know. I keep thinking, well, until that domination happens, they're both munching away, making their own thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Yeah, I mean, you still...
do you pitch them both at once, or do you do a staggered pitch maybe then of one and then maybe the more dominating one afterwards?
Well, you can do that. That's certainly another way to go. At the Honey and Pollination Center, UC Davis Mead seminar this past spring, one of the big talks was that, and how to do a blending, either pre-fermentation or an individual fermentation and blending post-fermentation. And there's a lot of ways you can do it. And I personally believe that the science and technology behind the yeast and through the fermentation is really in its infancy. I think we're all just beginning to really grasp what is possible. Up until a few short years ago, and maybe there's people are still doing it on the forums. I haven't really been paying attention to it, but a lot of people are like, I used a sweet mead yeast. I used a dry mead yeast, and I'm not quite sure what that means. Is it Saccharomyces cerevisiae? Is it a different strain? And it's kind of just been kind of lumped in as just an ingredient versus using a particular yeast strain to get a particular flavor.
Right. Would you think, for the home mead makers out there that might want to try it, would you maybe know two different yeasts that work well together that we might be able to get access to? Not these esoteric commercial ones, but maybe like something that we could easily buy from Weist or White Labs or something like that.
Yeah, I think if you're going to try to blend a yeast together and literally blend them in fermentation together, I think staying away from the powerhouses like 1118 or even 1116 or K1V, I would probably go with something a little bit more subdued in the 12 to 14%, moderate attenuation yeasts like R2, D254 is a really nice one. Off the top of my head, there's a really fun yeast that came out about 2 years ago called Clo, and it's CLOS. That one produces some really interesting phenolics and byproducts that really are quite stunning on a finished product. I personally try to tell people to stay away from the champagne yeast altogether. I know they're the go-to yeast. I mean, they'll blow through any type of sugar. If your goal is to ferment and produce alcohol, perfect. If you're trying to produce very complex, intricate, and subtle meads that have depth to them and layers and dimension, I highly recommend trying some of these other yeasts and think outside the box again, not just thinking champagne must be for champagne. I'm going to use a mead yeast. I'm going to break away from that and go, I'm looking for dark berry notes or stone fruit. I'm going to go look for a yeast that produces those flavors. I want a yeast that'll produce mouthfeel. A lot of people don't know that yeast can produce mouthfeel. So I'm going to go with something that produces longer polysaccharide chains. So the when you drink it, the mead will coat a little bit more and produce a little bit more mouthfeel. There's a lot more kind of intricate things. We kind of take it as at face value. Oh, yeast is yeast. yeast, but it really isn't the case.
I like it. It's half chemistry, half art at this. When you start getting into that blending stuff and all that.
It is, and what's really amazing is we try to create the best world for yeast. Who's working for who?
That's cool. All right. Well, good.
So for your regular fermentations, do you have any particular go-to yeast, or do you select your yeast based on whatever batch you're doing?
I have a couple that I don't speak of, but I do have a couple, and I've already mentioned them, that I do recommend. D254 is a wonderful yeast. R2 is a great yeast. 212 is a great yeast. A lot of people talk 71B and 47. I'm not huge fans of those. They do have their place, and I think they have that wonderful flavor profiles. But if you want to think outside the box and have that depth and a little bit more complexity, I would steer towards those. They're wonderful for both fruit mead and traditionals.
Mm. The God meters have been using a lot of 1388 Belgian ale yeast. And it makes a really nice mead. We like it.
Sure. Beer yeasts are amazing. You can do a lot with those. We just did a piment with Gewürztraminer grapes and honey, and it's amazing the banana that comes out from that, and it's there's a lot of fun qualities in those yeasts. Again, that is an ingredient that really will add a lot to the final product.
Cool.
I think you've left Manny not knowing where to go next.
I don't know. That's it. I'm good. I'm already starting to make notes about what I'm doing this week.
That's awesome. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I get so excited as a meadery owner when other people get excited about it. We had people come in not long ago that the guy was like a wine drinker. That was it. And he tasted our meads, and he was like, "No, I'm not touching wine again. I'm doing mead. Mead is where I want to be." And he became a club member, and he gets, he's part of our club that we have. And seeing people convert is an amazing thing. What I love the most, though, is seeing other mead makers go, aha, and then all of a sudden we have new homebrewers that are sharing it with friends and going on and building this industry. We're in a very interesting part or era in this industry. It's very much in its infancy, and right now, we have a lot of people like, "Oh, we were down at your competition, Moonlight," and we have to stand back and chuckle because in a lot of industries, I guess he would be competition, but in this industry, he's very much not. We're, Michael and I are what I'd like to consider very good friends, and I think he would share the sentiment. We are very much just educators of what we do and of this craft, and we need more of them. We have, 400 plus meaderies?
Pushing 500
we all probably
now.
Remember. We're close to 500. That's excellent. One a week. Breweries are at 2 a day. I mean, we're not far behind. It's coming. And we need that. We need that in a big way. We need, of course, more people to make better mead and outstanding mead and, just to keep a good representation of the product as a whole. But it's just amazing to see it and happen. I'm anybody who's ever been to the meadery at Sap House, I'm not shy to show people what I do and how they can do it. And
Nice.
I help in any way that I can, and I just love the fact there are people excited enough to actually consider to do it full time, as a full-time job and make that leap. And I love entrepreneurship, and I feed on that, and I love sharing those things. So it's really exciting. It's an exciting time for this industry.
It really is. I mean, I was around watching all of this when there was 20 meaderies in the country, and